What a glory never really be told. My faith will be holding to save me.
So please, be sure to get over there. You'll notice that the little feet now have blue ribbon on them. Laura Hope Smith died at the Cape a year ago, and her parents have asked us to rename the Woman's Right to Know Bill Laura's Law. We'll be wearing the blue ribbons until Laura's Law passes, which we plan on May.
And for me, the star of the conventions was Trig Palin. His mother said that he was beautiful and perfect. And it's when his little sister used that spit to slick his hair down, I stood up and applaud voices that are raised. The more that we talk about and witness to the gospel of life, the more Americans will come to realize what abortion is. It's not a choice. It's snuffing out an innocent life. Without further ado, Joe Fitzgerald.
Where'd he go? He keeps on way up. No, he keeps on disappearing.
Thank you, Donald. You know, I got to start a little bit of a confession. When my dear friend June Newman, just over there someplace, called me a few months ago and asked if I would speak at a pro-life event. I said, sure, I do it all the time. And I wasn't listening closely. I assumed it was some little church basement up in Tewksbury. I had no idea it was going to be on Boston Common, but that's okay because the message does not change. Though this particular location, you know, on this particular location, down through the years, my goodness, George Washington spoke here, John Adams, Charles Lindbergh was here, FDR, Billy Graham, Pope John Paul II, Dr. King, an incredible list of distinguished speakers, a list upon which I do not belong, and I admit that up front. But I'm very grateful to be here because the cause is dear to my heart. I also want to tell you how much I admire all of you, why I love being in your company today. You know, just by being here, you're showing the courage of your convictions, and what a terrific quality that is. It used to be a pretty basic American thing to stand up for what you believe and be counted. In fact, Rockwell did a wonderful picture of some guy in a flannel shirt at a town meeting getting his 2 cents in. But you know, that Mark Twain once said about common sense, it's not so common. Well, that quality of standing up and being counted, that's kind of disappearing a lot too nowadays, and I feel bad about that because, you know, people like us were made to feel that we're kind of alone and out of the mainstream. So I would invite you to take just 1 minute right now and look around, just to remind yourself you're not alone. We're not alone. No way in the world. One of my great hopes for this particular event is that by the power of your example, and that's exactly what it is, by the power of your example, others who feel the way we do might be emboldened or encouraged or even have their conscience stirred a bit to stand up and be counted. Nowadays, you know, people are so terrified of rocking the boat, so upset about the fact that they might incur the wrath of someone who says, keep your views to yourself, that they do just that, and they're kind of cowered into silence. And that's not the American way, to sit back and do nothing. And regrettably, if I may just add parenthetically, that involves far too many members of the clergy who somehow bought into the idea that passivity and neutrality are the ways to fill pews. It makes me wonder, what book are they reading?
Right.
What book are they reading?
Excellent.
You know, there are 2 books that really bring me here today, or 2 books that have sort of prepared me to be here today. And my guess is most of you are familiar with both of them. One informs us of our faith, the other informs us of our rights and our heritage. And both speak quite directly to the sanctity of human life, including unborn life. There's no question about that. One is the basic American history book, or the civics book. They kind of go hand in hand. One of the things that history books tell us, and we all know it to be true, we're a nation of laws, and thank goodness we are. But just because something is legal does not mean it is right. And we know that. Down through the years, Americans, just driven by moral imperative, when they've seen a law they know isn't right, then they act in responsible fashion to rewrite or even rescind that law. And there are so many examples where, when I was talking to Scott Verhagen over there from the radio station, he was saying his wife's grandmother died a couple of days ago.
Yes, I'm sorry, I hate to do this, but do we have a doctor or a nurse here? There's a gentleman over there who's fainted. They think it might be serious. Do we have, and is there a doctor in the house? Yes, right there, please, sir, over there. See what you can do for that gentleman. Joe, I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry for that, my goodness. Not at all. I was saying that down through the years, when Americans have seen a law they know is unjust, they have acted to rescind or to rewrite it. Scott was telling me about his wife's grandmother dying at the age of 96. And it occurred to me, basic math, when that lady was 8 years old, she still lived in a country where she couldn't have voted. That was the law, and the law was wrong. And so in 1920, the 19th Amendment was passed because that was an unjust law. You can go further into more current history. I was still in high school when the law of the land in some parts of this country said if you were black, you couldn't vote, nor could you ride certain buses or eat at certain lunch counters or attend certain schools. That was the law, and it was wrong. And so the Civil Rights Act of 1964 changed that law. Dr. King was one of my heroes, and he often was told by people, hey, it's the law. And he had a powerful response to people who told him that. He would say, never forget that everything Hitler did in Germany was legal. It was illegal to aid or comfort a Jew in the days of Hitler's Germany. Just because something is legal doesn't make it right. Abortion, it's legal, but it's not right. It's not right. There was a great man in history named Edmund Burke. I love one of the things he left behind, one of his parting thoughts. He said, it's not what a lawyer tells me I may do, but what humanity, reason, and justice tell me I ought to do. In his behalf, he'd be happy to see you're here because he would say, you ought to be. You ought to be. But what's all this got to do with the right to life? I'm just talking about history. Well, let's go back to that history book. July 4th, 1776. Before they got down to any other basics, the founding fathers of this country wanted to make something abundantly, unambiguously clear. So they did it in the second paragraph of that magnificent document called the Declaration of Independence. And I'm sure you know the language. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed with certain inalienable rights, in other words, non-negotiable rights. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And who did those founding fathers identify as the benefactor of those inalienable rights? Who did they say could create such an endowment? Who did they say could deliver on such a promise? Remember what they wrote? We were endowed by our Creator. That's a word that's very specifically picked. Our Creator. What's the Creator? Well, the Creator is the author of the creation. Very simple. And that's you and me. We are the handiwork of that Creator, inalienably endowed with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So declared the founding documents that established and defined the United States of America. So you can look that up. That's in the book. And when you proclaim and defend the sanctity of life, the right to life, that's not Bible thumping. That's basic, unassailable, unambiguous American history. That's exactly what it is.